This is a refurbish of a driver I built probably 3 to 5 years ago. It's just got the hammered blue TI frame. We used, at the time it was some of the LA Storm motors that we got from Rockford after their deal folded. And I built it like the customer wanted, which was with sundown parts, sundown looking parts. So it's just a single soft spider with heavy leads. So you can see there's plenty of heat damage. The coil, with lines and fractures and things like that, it was ready to go up in smoke, and that's kind of what it did. So I'll show you the motor here in a bit. It's whoever put it together, probably me or whatever, one of my reseller guys. He put even the boot on there to make it off as a credible fake. So, which is great because that's actually the sundown cone, actual sundown cap, and of course the sundown boot. This is probably from like an old ZV3 or probably a ZV3 or an X. But anyways, a couple of things I'm going to update, which is I'm going to use 2 of the OEM spiders that you see on Lord of Base with the sewn leads, and then also the original coil, which is just round aluminum. We're going to go ahead and solder that back. What I do on this one, I just finished the other one for him, is I'm going to go ahead and do bolts here, 2 spots, so it's 8 bolts all the way around, because we're going to laminate the 2 spiders together. We're not going to use any glue or anything to laminate them. They need to really remain soft. And the original design that had the quad coil version on it, the TC 3000, also known as the 9 series from what is it called? Eclipse, and then the Audio Pulse Axis. So it was just 2 soft spiders with like medium-sized leads sewn into it. Let me show you the motor. Got Patrick O'Hearn rocking. What you'll see on some of these old TC Sounds 3 HP motors is, especially on the X1 that is not detachable, because I think he figured nobody would see inside of it, but there's actually a little bit of a defect, or I should say lack of planning. Sometimes you'll see some Kapton right here, because the sewn spiders, which is this one, the leads can be seen on both sides. That's because it's right in between the spider. And so sometimes on a long excursion down, it would like touch there and arc. So Tilo just put some Kapton tape there, and you'll see that in this is the Sunfire 10. This was one of the later revisions before he finally called it quits. It says they're made in 05. As you can see, it's got a really heavy-duty back plate and twin 1-inch slugs or 25mm slugs. This is the fanciest terminal that they came out with, which is still the for Sunfire anyway, which still uses the spade connectors. What we do is we go ahead and we glue the heads down with a little bit of CA. We vent this whole bottom area, and then we also vent under the spider just to give it maximum venting. As you can see here, the Kapton that I was talking about before, that's because the spider that they used actually has dual leads here and leads there, and that's to keep it from rocking, so that it's evenly distorted, I should say. But anyways, they were having shorting problems whenever it bottoms out. I was notified by one of my users that they didn't like that I used a different coil, which is funny because it's literally 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. The original coil actually used it's actually a dual 8 ohm coil with really fine wire that they've doubled up, and really this just has to do with the space that the coil takes up. Here it is. So this particular one, it looks like either a cat or a dog got to it and was nibbling on the surround. You can see here they just used this to make a little flat thing, and it just kind of sucks. But here's that coil. It's got a lot of windings, right? But then they double it up, so it ends up being a 4-layer anyway. And then what we do is we take a 4-layer and wire it in series, a dual 2, and wire it in series. But then what we do is we use, because this thing has leads on both sides, again, to eliminate some of the rocking modes when you just put leads on one side, what I do is I double them up, so that way the leads never burn out. But yeah, this is the original from TC Sounds, and the coil looks really good. So we might even harvest the coil for another client. Some of the clients demand, like they know what they're talking about, demand that I use the original coil, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Just I usually just charge them extra because it takes time to harvest it. So, but I have quite the collection for the TC Sound stuff. Oh, by the way, this is the Sunfire, originally used by the Sunfire 8. True Sunfire. There's the black version, which is typically how it comes. We just went and got them powder coated. There was a fan that noted that they actually built some of those for Eclipse, under the Eclipse brand. Of course, that's TC Sounds and some other TC Sound stuff. This is I think this is a 8 series. This is a light aluminum with soft spiders. Again, here's the sewn. And so what he's done is actually, in this case, instead of putting Kapton Town, this is actually smarter, is he put a second spider there. And really, the second spider is really unnecessary because it doesn't really give much resistance. It really doesn't. I guarantee it. You can actually test it yourself. Put one spider on, test the TSPs. Put 2 spiders on, soft spiders. Test the TSPs. They're virtually the same. Very identical. But anyways, that's another story. There's the part number if you want to get the part number direct from PE. So when they were making them in America. But I have a little collection of Sunfire stuff I just keep. This is the 8, which is a 6-layer copper. Again, with the dual leads on each side, but they only use one side. We actually had this coil reproduced. This is our version. Of course, ours has the magic char color, which is diamond coated something or other. It doesn't. This is actually bullshit. What they've been doing lately is just cooking them longer when they bake them so that they have that look. Personally, I don't like it because then it makes it harder for me to tell if the user abused it. But you can easily just look at the anodizing on the inside, and then if the anodizing is missing, then yeah, they abused it. So that means they got it red hot. So as you can see some of the other ones, this is that same technique that Tilo had done. It's basically, this is just foam right here. This is just a foam cap, and then it's got the little squishy thing. Sometimes they're hard. On the passive, they used a piece of MDF and a weight, piece of steel. There's some other ones back there. So I just like to study them and save them, and I like to see how different engineers solved different problems, and it just helps me solve other problems. Here's the passive with the original weight you can see on there, and then really this is just a piece of mass. You can actually weigh this, and you can do it however you want inside. We actually don't use a voice coil former. We just use a cardboard tube, which is what I think they did. But then Tilo, the other thing I like to do is either bore this out to 4-inch so it has a little more clearance, a little more excursion without bottoming out. Yeah, that's the other thing that we do on those, just to give it a little more. Later versions of the ISIS, which was Tilo's design, used a, I believed it used the Volcano 3 HP, which is more shallow than the regular 3 HP. All they did was mill this down. And then he uses, it was the TI frame. And then he uses a TI frame as the passive, but it's been sawed off, truncated. Here we go. He just saws it off just below the, below, when you look at it like that, below the spider landing. So that way you have a higher excursion, even though it's not that much. It's only like a 1/4 inch more on each side of spider. But anyways, this is just a short little video to talk about the Sunfire sub, kind of an update. I'll be doing more just random videos that are as unedited as possible. For some reason, I know you guys like that. Whatever, that's fine with me. Thanks a lot.